Hey everyone, Nick from Ridgeback Rides, and on today's episode, I have the pleasure of sitting down with two friends of mine from the local motorcycling community, Reda and JJ, who are the founders of the Leesburg chapter of the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. Each year, the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride brings together riders and motorcycle enthusiasts from all around the world on the same day in May to raise money and raise awareness for men's mental health and prostate cancer research. Many years ago, Reda and JJ set out to start a new local chapter here in Northern Virginia. I thought it'd be interesting to sit down and hear their origin story and how they went from just a handful of riders their first year to the hundreds of riders that they attract today, and how that also led them to found a new motorcycling lifestyle brand named Locomoto. I hope you enjoy this episode of the Ridgeback Ride Podcast.
Maybe we could start with, who are you guys? How did you meet? How did you get to be buddies and get this Distinguished Gentleman's Ride off the ground here in Northern Virginia?
Yeah, so thanks for having us today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Love it.
As Nick said, my name is Reda, and JJ and I met back in, I think it was 2019. I was riding by myself. I really didn't know anybody, and I took a pit stop.
Sorry for you.
Yeah, I know. But at least I was riding. I was getting out there, and I
What
stopped.
were you riding back then?
I was riding a Triumph Street Twin.
Oh, okay. That's a fun bike.
Yeah, 900cc. I had just I'd taken 15 years off of riding, so I wanted to ease back into it.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I stopped in for a cup of coffee. I came out and I see these two guys looking at my motorcycle, and one of them was JJ. And
I'm not surprised.
yeah.
JJ's not shy when it comes to.
No, he's not. I
talking
was
to people.
wondering who these guys are and why they're, touching my bike. But
We didn't touch it.
no, you didn't
We were
touch
just
it.
looking.
No. But yeah, we, we talked a little bit. JJ happened to have the same bike, so we were just kind of comparing notes on some of the
Yeah.
upgrades that I did to it and what he's done to it. And come to find out, go ahead.
No, it's just crazy how the world works, the universe works, right? Well, as he said, I had taken a break from riding for about 5 years, and had always loved the Triumph Modern Classic platform.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, what's not to like about it,
it's
right?
beautiful.
No matter what model, right?
Absolutely.
Talk about the Bonneville.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely. So, so that caught my eye. We started talking, and then as we kind of continued, it's funny. In my phone, I had Reda Street Twin. That's the way
Is
I
that
put 'em.
how?
And I had JJ Street Twin.
Come on, really? You
Yeah,
serious?
I actually when I first started meeting a bunch of the guys that we ride with now,
Yeah.
it was their first name and the bike they rode
Oh
Absolutely.
my gosh.
on the
that's funny.
phone until I got to know them, and I was like, "What's your last name again?"
Yep.
And then you
Right?
get the
Yeah.
last name.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, when I met you guys, it was kind of the same thing, right? You
Right.
start to correlate it all. And I
Yes.
didn't know your last names for probably, I don't know, 4 months.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Exactly. But then as we started to kind of get to know each other, we come to find out we both went to Radford University together.
Mm.
He was a year ahead of me. We both were criminal justice majors. We absolutely were in the same classes together,
Oh, no kidding. Really?
but never
Oh.
never knew each other in college. So we started riding, and honestly, I don't. Now that you bring it up, I don't know how like kind of the DGR thing. It may have just been kind of we were both getting ready for it. Hey, have you participated in it? But funny story is when I got out of riding, I had heard about it. I think through the Triumph piece because I had just been looking at Triumphs forever, and I registered for the 2016 DGR in Washington D.C. And I'll let Reda talk about D.C. because that's kind of the genesis of how the Leesburg ride came about. But I had not bought a bike yet, but I had registered for DGR and put a Triumph Bonneville because I was dead set.
Yeah, so you knew like, hey, I'm going to get a Bonneville.
I was
just
like,
not sure
this is the
what
bike
type
I
yet.
want. I've raised some money, never got the bike, and didn't end up getting a bike until 2019.
Did you go down to the event at least?
No,
you
I
just
didn't.
registered,
I
didn't have a
didn't.
motorcycle,
No.
raised some money.
I was trying to like wish it into reality, I
Oh,
think.
there you go. When everybody starts to hear more about the story, though, you surely did.
Exactly.
And so,
Yeah. So I never participated in the DC ride. I'll let Reda kind of talk to that because I think that and some other things is what again perpetuated the Leesburg ride and how it came about.
Yeah. So, in 2019, again, as I said, I really didn't know anybody who was riding, and ended up meeting a gentleman named Prithvi, who now happens to be the host for DGR in Sacramento.
out
He
in
used-
California.
In California. And he used to live here.
Okay.
And I met him. He had a Triumph T120. And he said, "Hey, you should come do the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride with us that we're doing in DC." He was not the host. He was just a participant. So I decided, okay, well, tell me about it. So he told me about it, and I got on Amazon and ordered some cheap,
Right. Like
some cheap tweed
duds,
and
right?
yeah, exactly. Took my street twin, went out there and we did the ride and it was amazing. It was awesome.
Was it through like, did they keep it bound to DC or did you like
Yeah.
see Maryland?
So it is
Virginia?
now.
Yeah.
Right now it's just DC, but in 2019 when I did the ride, it started in Mount Vernon and it ended at the Capitol.
All right. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, so it was a great ride. I didn't see the incident. I saw the video footage afterwards, but there was a deer that was crossing the GW Parkway that took out one of the riders.
Oh gosh.
So I think for safety reasons, they decided to keep it within DC
Bound and
moving forward.
DC Metro.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
in town.
Exactly.
Was it well attended? Like what kind of
Yeah, I mean,
numbers were
I
they
think
pulling
at the
that year?
time, wow, I want to say they had 200-300.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think too, just to back up a little bit in terms of Distinguished Gentleman Ride as a whole, right? Reda had mentioned, tweed and those types of things. So just to give kind of the audience a little bit of backstory of how DGR came about, it was started in 2012 by 4 gentlemen in Australia,
Okay.
riding buddies just like us. That I think, as we all know, there can be a negative connotation with motorcycles,
It could be.
motorcyclists.
Yeah.
And they were, the way the story goes, they were sitting around, and I'm sure everyone knows Mad Men and Dom Draper. And there's a photo, actually I have one in my office, of him in a nice suit sitting on a Triumph Bonneville.
Oh, okay.
And they looked at that and went, "Oh my gosh,
We should do something.
we should
like
do
that.
we should do a ride where we kind of go over the top in terms of distinguish." And as Reda said, it's tweed, it's plaid, it's bow tie, it's but again, it's purposeful in terms of trying to change that kind of mindset. But this past year in 2024 was the 12th year. It happens on the same day across the globe. This past year, it was upwards of 900 cities, I believe, 120
Isn't that crazy?
countries.
But it's in the spring now, right?
Yeah, it was in September, and then 2 years ago it switched to May. Obviously, trying to find that perfect sweet spot of weather when you're talking about that many places across the globe is tough. But the benefiting, there's a single benefiting global sponsor, and it's Movember. So it started. I don't know the backstory.
So like the Movember, same.
Absolutely.
Movember
No-
charity.
Yeah.
No Shave November started
Yeah.
out very heavily focused on prostate cancer, men's health, and then it evolved into men's mental health and suicide prevention. But this past year, so after this past year's ride, total funds raised is pushing close to $90 million for Movember.
That's pretty amazing.
So
All from 4 people in Australia just have an
Yeah.
idea, right? It's pretty
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's we to kind of talk about what we brought up earlier about why Leesburg, DC. DC was, it's close, but it's not that close, right? Especially when you're not wearing any protective gear, right? You're gonna have to ride all the way down there wearing a suit, just a helmet, really.
Yeah.
So JJ, kind of
Which for some people is fine, right? Like they ride
Yeah,
like
of
that all the
course.
time.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
not
right,
everybody.
right.
Not us.
Yeah.
We're very safe.
Not if you're distinguished,
Right. No, whatever.
Distinguished and safe.
Yeah. So, I mean, JJ and I were talking about it. We, he actually brought it up and said, we should just start our own ride and do it out here because there's so many riders out where we live.
Were there a lot of riders from like this part of Northern Virginia doing DC at the time that you were aware
Yes.
of? Okay, so there was like a bit of a demand.
There was only
Already.
really 2, I believe. I don't know how long. There's a ride in Baltimore. I don't know how long that's been around, but if you think about it, as Reda said, DC or Baltimore for us out here in Loudoun County,
Yeah.
it's a hike. It's a hike. So it was very well received when we started to kind of advertise that we were going to do it. But again, continue kind of down that path.
Yeah. So like, with everything, you talk about things and then things never happen. But this
Right.
guy just decided to go and he signs up as the host and then sends me an email, says you're now the co-host of the Leesburg
that's
DGR.
pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
I was like, all right, well, now we have to do it. Right.
Yeah.
Forgiveness versus
It's kind of like
permission.
what he did with his motorcycle. What do
Yeah.
they call that? Projection. that,
Yeah,
like successful
right.
people talk
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Got to think it into reality,
Into
right?
reality.
So we did
So
it.
you have 2 so far.
Yeah.
But we'll probably hear some more.
Yeah, so we went through. There's a process to go through with DGR. There's safety things that you have to, safety videos and modules and things that you have to take.
There's a
and you've gotta
process. Like
sign.
you
There
can't just
is.
say, "Hey, woo, hey,
Yeah,
I'd
I'm
like
the
to do a
host, right?
ride." Yeah.
And then you have to apply, and there's all sorts of stuff like how long the ride is. You have to submit a route. They have to approve the route. I think our first year we got denied first 3 or 4 routes because they were either too long or the speed limit on those specific roads was exceeded what their minimums were, or what their maximums were. Excuse me.
Right. Yeah, I think they try to keep it within 25 miles, kind of round trip, if you will.
Right.
And you can't exceed 45 miles an hour.
Okay.
Which again makes it kind of hard here. The other thing that was harder for us was if you look at the cities, and they're the big NFL cities that you can think of here, but then even the big international cities, the point of it is it's called a ride. It's really more of a parade, where, again, you want to kind of take the bikes through the city center, if you will. So for us, I mean, that's downtown Leesburg, that's downtown Middleburg.
Right. So really to bring, get eyeballs on the ride, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's again, and we'll talk about kind of how it started and where we are now and what next year is going to look like, but it's just amazing to see the amount of people waving to us, the kids, the moms, the dads.
And that was lost on me, to be honest with you. Like the first year I did it with you guys, like, it was obvious you were taking us a certain route. And as we're riding, I'm like, why are we going this way? Or why are we going that way? Or there's a shorter way to get to where we're going. Or we could go on this road. It would be so much better of a ride. Totally not thinking about the bigger picture, to be honest with you, until the second year.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, visibility is key.
Yeah.
And that visibility creates conversation. You get people coming up and asking you like, hey, why are you guys dressed up this way? Right.
Yeah.
And that gives us an opportunity to talk about the charity and why we do it. And that also, again, goes, it leads us to really change the mindset of motorcyclists.
Yeah.
So,
raise a lot of money, right? I mean,
and it's funny too, because the first year we did it, obviously everyone knows what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
And
somebody created a situation where the roads were entirely empty for us motorcycles.
Yes.
That was the best time of our lives.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a very good point. Way to take good, something.
So there's a silver lining in everything.
Yeah. So that first year, the DGR called it Ride Solo.
Okay.
So, obviously social distancing is a lot easier on a motorcycle. But that was the first year that we ended up doing it. And, you're supposed to ride solo, but we had 12, 15 guys.
We had 12 people. I joke around and I say this, we had 12 people, JJ and I, and 8 of our friends. And we had 2 random people show
This was
up.
the first year.
Yeah. This is the first year official Leesburg ride.
And where were the origins of the ride? Like, where did you guys kick that ride off?
It was at the Harris Teeter gas station.
Was it really? Is it really?
Yeah, the one that you know well.
The same when we meet today when we go ride? Okay,
yes.
That's where we met. Great. And then we ended it at, what's that place in Leesburg?
It's McDowell's Brew House.
Yes.
And right across from Tuskie's and right in downtown Leesburg.
That's pretty funny.
Which they didn't know we were coming. They,
Yeah. So imagine these guys.
It didn't like you showed up with 1,000 people.
No, but we showed up wearing wearing tweeds and rocking helmets. So
and a bow tie.
Yeah. So people were wondering what the hell we were doing.
There weren't a lot of
church. You came from church.
Yes, there weren't a lot of other pocket squares.
Church in the 1920s.
In that venue. So that was that first year. We raised a little bit of money. We, again, still the point was to raise money.
Right.
But I think we were, he and I think we were kind of hooked. We were like, okay, there's something here. And even with 12 people, there were people that, as Reda said, came up and said, hey, what is this about?
Right,
this is cool. Like, I mean, I think anything, everybody loves motorcycles, but you up the ante when you're dressed, like Peaky Blinders.
Right.
Now we're since it was such a small group of people, actually, like, what about the motorcycle types? Like, I know the motorcycle type today is not a deal breaker or not, but the ride's looking for like the classic look. Like, you guys get close to that first year?
So the first year, I think we
didn't care.
Yeah,
so it was. Okay,
I'm pretty certain you're right, and it's ironic. Well, I guess it's a numbers game,
right?
But the fact that you're right. Those 12, even the 2 randoms that showed up,
so classic.
They actually showed up on actual classic Triumphs.
Oh, no kidding, really?
Yeah. And it's funny,
fortunate.
We keep talking about Triumph. We should probably shout them out too. They're the largest global sponsor for DGR.
Okay.
But yeah. So I think, springboarding back to your question, excuse me, is yes, they like the guidelines, like they've got their stuff together. And they've expanded kind of the style guide is what they call it for the bikes. But yeah, that's
definitely not like sport bikes, rev bombing
sport bikes,
down the road,
big,
right? Like it's
big baggers, right? Even cruisers, they need to be more bobbers or choppers or a classic cruiser. But we don't turn anybody away.
Right.
We basically
it's like encouraged.
We put them in the back, right? And that's more so just so you have some some continuity in terms of what the look is. But
well, now you guys are doing great, right? Like I saw last year people with classic motorcycles with sidecars, and like it's really evolved into quite the variety of motorcycles.
Yeah. So if you want to kind of go into 21 and we'll work our way through.
Again, 12 people, word of mouth, really. We didn't really advertise it. However, the two randoms who showed up, we were kind of shocked because we thought it was just going to be the people that we invited. They just went online and found the closest ride to them, and they decided to show up.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Which is great. So, at that point we said, okay, well, how do we make this bigger, right? How do we get the word out, other than our Facebook and Instagram pages?
Sure.
And
and the DGR promotes it as well, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, DGR promotes it, but who's going to promote the Leesburg DGR?
Yeah.
Right. So that's when we decided, we both had somewhat of just a friendly relationship with John, who's the owner of Motorcycles at Dulles, which is our local Triumph, BMW, Indian, Royal Enfield dealer.
Right.
And I bought my bike there. So I just went to him and we started talking to him about maybe doing something with them where we could start the ride there. It wasn't really anything else. And
so it wasn't like joint promotion or anything. It's like, hey, could we have this as the launch?
Do you think can we come here, right?
And I think too is I bought my bike there as well. So as Reda said, we had a little bit of a relationship, but I think it was a win-win for both us with the Leesburg Ride with DGR and for John, because as I mentioned, Triumph is the largest sponsor.
Yeah.
So really, he said it's kind of kicking me into gear here, no pun intended, but like literally I need to be more involved. We should be more involved.
Right.
So I think it was a really good
event, like in the broader event.
Yes. Right. Yes. Just he should be a venue. He should be promoting. He should be a part of it.
Right.
So I think it was a real win-win for both of us, because it definitely helped from a promotion perspective. They've got the mod newsletter and those types of things.
Yeah, I mean, they must have a pretty extensive email list or
absolutely.
And unfortunately, in 21, I didn't participate. I had a health issue with my eye, and where I couldn't ride, obviously, because I couldn't see. So I wasn't a part of 21 other than kind of on the website. He really took over as the primary host. And I'll let you talk about 21, and then we'll continue the.
Yeah, so I think 21, and I apologize, I'm trying to make sure I've got the years right here. I think we got up to, Mod started including the DGR dates and advertising it on their newsletters. When somebody came in and bought a classic or modern classic, right, they would let them know, hey, you should join this ride.
Yep.
And, John really kind of, we were just asking, hey, can we use your parking lot, right? Because we wanted pictures in front of a Triumph sign.
Yeah, sure. It makes
but he said, no, we'll come, because they're closed on Sundays.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, we'll open it up. We'll have coffee and donuts, right? We'll open up the shop. You guys can come in here. So which was great. And then so word got out, and we started watching the counter, right? So there's a counter to see how many registered riders were on there. And I think it got up to like 72 riders.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that must have been pretty exciting.
So from 12 to 72, and that made me nervous.
Yeah.
I can lead 12 people.
Right. Now what?
Yeah, 72. What am I going to do?
Right.
So fortunately, I volunteered my friends to say, okay, guys, I need you guys I need help.
Right.
We need to manage these 72 people. So it was a great turnout, and we thought we kind of peaked too early. But the following years proved to be different. I mean, it's I think the following year where
in 22, it
broke 100.
It took off.
Right.
Like,
I think that was the first year I did.
Yeah.
20.
And luckily,
no, 23 I did.
I was back on a bike, which was great. And then in terms of the venue, as Reda said, mod is the starting point.
Right. So that's baked in.
That's the starting point that we know that's a given.
And they're now also a major sponsor.
Yes.
Of the Leesburg DGR Ride.
Yeah, which is great.
So then in terms of a finishing venue, right? That's when we really started to reach out to. There's so many great local breweries and just local businesses that have really embraced DGR. Each year it grows. Right. So in 22 we actually ended at Bear Chase out west, if you will. And to Reda's point, we were 100 and.
It was low hundreds.
Low hundreds, maybe 120-ish.
Yeah, that's a pretty big group.
And then in 23, another eye issue, just the other eye.
Yeah.
But I was able to be there, which was great. So
which I didn't know. Again, I didn't. Now I'm thinking that's the year.
That's the year
I joined for the first time.
That's right, because
he had
the headphones on,
and it was all because I bought a motorcycle,
Right.
learned about it from Mod,
right?
and then I saw you running around with the headset on, like a NASCAR.
Like I was in the pit, I was the pit crew, right?
And I didn't realize you weren't able to ride because of your eye. I thought you were just like running the show.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
and then,
and so we actually have a friend that we all know, Lauren, who has a beautiful classic Volvo that he leads the DGR. Right, he's kind of our lead car, if you will, our pace car, if you will.
Right.
So I was lucky enough to kind of sit in there with him. I was on comms, so at least got to experience.
Great. We had great weather that day.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
It was, and you brought up classic motorcycles and sidecars, and we got to get this couple back because they were amazing. 1940s fully restored Harley Davidson with a sidecar. At that point, we didn't do like best dress, which we'll get to. We do that now, but they would have won hands down.
Right.
His wife was in the sidecar, obviously. We got to the finishing venue that year, which is now Lost Barrel out in Middleburg.
That's a great place. Yeah, it was a great
They've
place
been great. They're now they're a staple.
Like the
right?
place to finish up.
They want to be partners with us moving forward.
They're a staple.
They want to be the venue. So
the venue is really well situated for that many motorcycles.
Yeah, it's nice. Right? I mean, you got to. That's what was tough about Bear Chase, right? If anyone has been to Bear Chase,
on a mountain,
beautiful,
literally
beautiful, but it's not very conducive to motorcycles based on the parking. But yeah, so we got to Lost Barrel that year, and that couple parks their bike, and I never forget the great pictures we have. Like I said, I just want to get them back so bad. She gets out. There's a nice wicker basket on the back of the sidecar, and she starts mixing.
Like a picnic basket.
Yeah. She starts shaking martinis.
That's
right.
Yeah. While people are still taking their helmets off and chit chatting, I hear her shake, and she's sitting there shaking martinis.
It's amazing.
She pours one for her and one for her husband, and I was just looking at it. And I think my wife was also commented. She's like, "I want to be them."
Yeah.
Right.
It was amazing.
That's
absolutely
pretty amazing. So everybody really kind of getting into the
it was great.
Yeah.
into the spirit of
absolutely.
So in 23 we were in pushing 180, right, in terms of
178 riders.
Numbers
in 2023.
Yeah, and we to Reda's point earlier, in terms of trying to like wrangle all those riders, we were fine with a dozen, right? But you start getting into the point where you need. We've had, you help out, right? You're a ride leader.
That was 24.
Yeah. So we had to cap the ride.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
Just because of numbers.
Right. Just the logistics of it, right?
Initially, we did try to get, that was 24.
That was in 24.
That was in 24.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a good springboard into 24. So the thing about, again, each year, so we've got some staples. We mentioned Mod, we mentioned Lost Barrel. So yeah, just kind of finishing up with 23's ride, because I'm excited because I got to be back on the bike in 24.
Yeah, which is good.
Which was great. The sponsors, as I mentioned, as Reda said before, Lost Barrel, they are inked, right? They are they're
our destination.
They're our finishing venue. Yeah. They've been amazing, very hospitable. And again, Mod is that as well. But each year we've had more local businesses want to sponsor, right? So there's different tiers of sponsoring. You can be I forget what they call major sponsors, like $500, whether it's a donation or again you're supporting in some form or fashion a venue,
gift cards,
exactly,
t-shirts, sweatshirts, tchotchkes.
So King Street Oyster Bar,
right?
As I mentioned,
they're Leesburg and
Middleburg, which is great. That works out perfect.
That does work both of those cities.
Again, Shoes Cup and Cork, which is a great shop, coffee shop spot down in
awesome
downtown.
Breakfast,
amazing breakfast. Yes. Fast Signs in Ashburn, right? This past year it was great. We had a step repeat that you could get pictures with, and
I remember that. That was actually pretty cool. And there was a Triumph. What's the name of the bike?
Thruxton. Actually, ended up buying that
you
bike.
now own, right? Yeah.
Was that the actual bike?
It
is. It's the actual bike. It's such a great bike. It's like black and silver.
That's
and
amazing.
Gold.
I didn't know that was the bike.
Awesome.
Man, you were hooked.
Again, back to the projecting.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you got to think it.
Right. The universe said Reda's going to own this motorcycle.
He's going to own this motorcycle. But so then this past year in 24, you know, again, it continued to grow. We were close to about the 180 mark. We actually kind of had to cap that too, as Reda mentioned. We reached out to Loudoun County sheriffs, and they literally couldn't support the numbers that they didn't have enough, I think, officers
who could work
who could work it.
day.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think we to be fair, it was our fault a little bit because by the time we got in contact with them,
it was a little late in the game.
It was a little late in the
It's
game.
like, hey guys, what are you doing Sunday?
Right. Yeah. No, it was about, I'd say 45 days right before the ride. And it was.
So we're starting now. Like we're going to start now.
Yeah. And I think Mod has already reached out to them.
So your ambition is still to have an escort, like
we are.
Yeah. We would love to not have to cap it. Like my goal is let's get to 300, right? Let's start to nip at the heels of some of the, again, the New Yorks, the LAs. Yeah. In fairness, we did have an escort the past 2 years in Middleburg. So we did have a police officer there, and I forget, somebody knew somebody that would pick us up at the gathering spot. That's actually a good point. We can bring that up. Is what we try to do, even though we have ride leaders and we break the groups up into 25 bikes, I believe it was. As we map our route, we purposely have a gathering spot. So
so like we recollect.
Exactly. Yeah. We tried to do that was it in 23 when I remember that rig. There was like a big rig.
Oh yeah, that just cut us.
That cut us in half, basically.
But now in 24, you did it at that park.
Yeah, we did at Idley.
Idley,
which is a great
Leesburg,
little roundabout. Yeah, and then we do the same thing right before we get up into Middleburg. So there's a little spot there.
So that lets you do the parade, right? Like the parade.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to go through those two towns together,
right? And which is really awesome. And all the pictures, right? And so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we were able to get, we had, I think in 23, we had a photographer who works for CNN was out there taking pictures.
Right.
Also utilized some free labor. Got my daughter out there. She would hop in the car and take the shortcut and get to Leesburg and wait for us to get there and take some pictures and then do the same thing in Middleburg. So
it's funny. We had back to Lauren before he got his Volvo.
Yes.
So this would have been in 22.
He would come out. And...
we were a great route that year. A lot of scenic ride there. But we come up over a crest of a hill and he's like in the prone position, laying on the hood, or no, excuse me, the roof of his Jeep Wrangler,
just taking pictures.
I remember that actually.
Yeah. And then he turned. Well, we get one turn. He's laying in the middle of the road.
He looked like he was like the paparazzi. Like,
yeah.
Bushes like. So.
But yeah, so then obviously he transitioned to his Volvo, and Reda's daughter Mia took over, who I think did better than the CNN photographer. But don't tell anybody I said that.
Circling back on the police escort part though, right? I'm thinking like. When you get that big of numbers, right, you don't want your ride to have the opposite effect on the community. Like if you were trying to host a 300-person ride without police presence, it may be just a real mess. It would have the opposite effect.
And that's one of the reasons we cap it. Yeah. And if we don't get a police escort this year, unfortunately, we're going to have to cap it again.
Yeah.
Because we can only manage so many riders, or we may have to rethink how we split the ride. We may have to.
The way you
exactly.
Can we change gears to the purpose of ride's fundraising? So maybe you could talk a little bit about how did that go? Like how's things going?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously Movember being the main charity, it's really focuses on men's mental health and prostate cancer research. So all the funds go to those two. But in terms of fundraising, we, as JJ said, even our first year, I think we raised a couple grand, right? I think
it was only 12 people.
Yeah, it was only 12 people. I think JJ and I probably raised more than half of that, right?
Right.
Being the host. But, fast forward to, 22 and 23, we were jumping.
Oh yeah.
In terms of how we were ranked worldwide, we just kept on getting
like an order of magnitude in the rankings.
There is a ranking of the city that raises the most funds for the charity. And, in 23, one of the founders of Movember was going to DC for something.
Mm-hmm.
And she called the guys at DGR and said, hey, I've never ridden in the States before.
Right.
Should I just join a DC ride? And they said, no. Go to the Leesburg Ride.
That's pretty impressive.
So she ended up coming and riding with us, which is great. She gave a great speech and talked about the history of Movember and kind of, all the good that they're doing.
Yeah, I'm hoping, I remember that. And I know we have pictures of that. So maybe
Sarah.
we could stitch that in here.
Yeah.
It was great. And she ended up riding on the back of one of the guys motorcycles and
That's
came and
fun.
hung out
That's
with
so
us.
much
And
fun.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
had beers with us at the end, and just a great experience. But you
There's a
know,
lot of pressure though too when she started telling us what
It's like we
rides
make sure
she
Yeah.
has
yeah.
participated in.
oh yeah, so
Sydney,
Milan,
Frankfurt, like just
yeah, London, and then Leesburg.
and then Leesburg,
Right.
Virginia.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Which is
Leesburg
great.
doesn't sound as sexy either.
Yeah,
but-
No.
we had a lot to live up to.
But she actually loved it. As we were riding through, you know, at the end of the ride, she said, "Oh my gosh, I love both of those cities, right? Middleburg and Leesburg."
yeah, they're
and-
really quaint. They like
Yeah.
colonial. All
So,
right.
yeah. So
Fundraising.
in terms
So
of
how's it going with
fundraising, yeah. So as of 2024, we've raised a little under $90,000
Ah, that's
here in
amazing.
Leesburg, and but more importantly, out of over 900 city, we were ranked number 39 in the world.
In the world.
Yes.
Wow.
We've
do
beat
you know
out-
the United States number then?
I think we were 16th in the United States.
Oh, wow.
But if you look at the world rankings, I mean, we beat out cities like Atlanta and Paris, and I mean, some of the major cities in the world. We were ranked way ahead of them. So very proud of that. We're hoping to kind of move up in the ranks this year. It's all going to depend on whether we need to cap the ride or not. But again, we just got to step it up in terms of
Yeah.
fundraising.
And that's the importance of us trying to secure some support from local, the local authorities, because the last thing we want to do is cap it for obvious reasons, because the more riders we have, the more money we can raise. And honestly, it just, the optics, the bigger it gets, the better it's going to be,
That's right. So
This
Daisy,
is truly
what do you-
Ridgeback.
It
This
is
is truly
Ridgeback
Ridgeback
Rides.
Rides.
There's
It is Ridgeback
Daisy
Rides, yeah.
coming in and
Truly
seeing what's
Ridgeback
going on.
Rides.
Daisy, you want to get out? Good. We'll let you out. Thanks for coming to say hello. Yeah,
And she's
I
the
do.
mascot. Why not?
she is. She's the Ridgeback and Ridgeback
You
Rides.
can hang out.
All right. Don't break anything.
Right on cue, right? She came right in. Yeah. So as Reda said before, yes, we will have to cap it just purely based on the logistics, but we're going to push really hard this year to get the support we need so that we can grow this thing as big as possible.
You guys, really, the reason you're doing all this is for the fundraising, right? That's how it started. So how's that tracking? Like,
Well, we're very proud of what we've accomplished so far. I mean, as of 2024, we have raised just under $90,000.
That's pretty
In
amazing.
Leesburg, absolutely amazing. And but more importantly, in the ranks, we ranked number 39 in the world out of 961 cities. I think it was.
That's pretty
Yeah.
fabulous. Good for you guys. Congratulations.
It's fantastic. We're very, very proud of that, and we want to move
And
up.
then you must be pretty
Yeah.
high in the U.S. if you're that high in the
Yeah, I
in the
believe we were
world.
number 16
Yeah.
in the U.S.
And again,
Um,
this isn't
yeah.
necessarily a major it isn't
No,
like there's
I mean,
15
no.
million people.
we were
that live
competing
here,
against L.A., New York, Chicago, Dallas.
What's the small city?
right? Silicon Valley, right?
Small city in New Jersey.
that beat us out?
Yeah, because we were like gunning for them.
Yeah, it's like I want to say it's like East Minuchin or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's something I'd never heard of. But the other 14 cities are the NFL cities. They're the cities you think of. New York is always the biggest.
Right.
Yeah.
L.A., San Francisco,
Absolutely.
et cetera, et
Chicago,
cetera.
Yeah.
Miami.
I suspect they were doing it. They've been doing it longer too. If I had to guess.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I think we may have. I'm going to check, but I think we may have beaten out Atlanta.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I was
not that
watching them.
not that it's a competition or anything.
Yeah,
but
not at all.
It is,
No, not
it
at
is
all.
fun.
We're not competitive at all.
not at all. I mean, we don't have our meetings prior and literally say we want to be in the top. We don't ever do that. We just say we want to raise as much money
That's
as we
right.
possibly can. Absolutely, that's
Yeah, but
not
you know
true.
what? It's
we want to be in the
evidence-
top
It's
10.
evidence you're running a good event, though, right? Like you wouldn't raise the money if people weren't having a good time, if people weren't coming back every year.
Absolutely.
Like if
Yeah.
the local shop like Mod didn't get involved, et cetera, your local
And I-
sponsors and so forth. Like everything that you guys talked about today. So,
100%. And I think to your point, Nick, like repeat riders, right? We don't
Yeah.
have a lot of breakage. Like I think we
get
put
lot
on
of-
a
lot
really
of
good
repeats.
event, and we have a lot of loyal, a lot of folks like you that look forward to it. And it's unfortunate it's like one day a year, right? Because we get
Right.
so
Yeah.
excited about about this, and then it's
So what should we expect for 2025? Right, we got one coming up in May. Is it May again this year?
May 18th.
Yeah, May 18th.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think what we can expect is for us to raise the same amount or more money
Mm.
than we did last year. Obviously, sky's the limit. We're only limited based on the support that we receive from the county. But other than that,
As far as the number of people.
about
Correct.
exactly the number of people.
Yeah.
And
We actually raised, I think we had a, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 less riders in 24 than we did in 23, but we raised more money.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Right. So again, it's, you just kind of never, you never know how that's going to go. But to Reda's point, as long as we keep growing, that's, that's a win, and that's a positive. But we
real
will.
quick, speaking of being competitive,
Yeah,
one of
here
the
we go.
things that I
There we go.
noticed, no, one of the things that I noticed this year, which is
Here we
great, right? Because I've had random people saying, you were the top fundraiser and I was chasing you. So I kept on fundraising.
You,
right?
I mean you as an individual.
Me as an
Yeah, yeah,
individual,
yeah.
right?
Right. I
So
think
I
that's
had
good. That is
random people I
motivating.
didn't know that were saying that. So, to me, if that is, if that's what it takes to get people to raise more money, then I'm going to try to raise as much money as possible.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I'll admit, like my first year, that motivated me to raise some money.
Yeah. You were in
it
you
is.
were in the top 3, right?
And there's so for the people listening, like there's a leaderboard,
Right.
like so you
Absolutely.
could click in on the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride to the site for Leesburg, and then there's a ranking of the fundraising that goes on, which is, it does. I think it does
drives the
create
right
that
behavior, right?
competition,
Yeah.
and then you're looking like, it's just it's again, it's not about that, but it makes it fun, and I'm sure it lifts our fundraising every
Absolutely.
time.
So
Yeah.
DGR as a whole globally,
Yeah.
that's I'm glad you brought that up. They give away, I think the top fundraiser in the world wins a Triumph motorcycle.
Yes, and they're pretty amazing too. Like
Yeah, they're
one-offs.
custom. They're,
Yeah.
they're one-offs.
And then
Or helmet, DGR helmets.
Hendon
right?
helmets.
Yeah.
Hendon is
Is that how you
is
pronounce that? Hendon.
Is it Hedon? I don't know.
Hendon. It's a nice helmet.
This
I know.
year I
know
saw
it's
that
like-
they're having a competition for the design. which
Oh,
is
really?
pretty
I didn't
cool.
see
that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. That you could submit
Yeah.
your design and you could win. Yada yada yada.
So we actually we decided we should do the same thing. We should have prizes for our top 3 fundraisers. So again, we leverage Mod obviously donates gift cards, and Nick, you mentioned gift cards from some of our local restaurant sponsors. Last year we did have a best motorcycle, right? We had we have best dressed, male and female.
Yeah,
So
it's fun. Makes it fun.
Absolutely,
Right,
we'll
yeah.
continue to do that.
Top fundraisers.
Yeah, we anticipate in 25, we anticipate more local sponsors. We, as I said before, Mod will be where we start.
Right.
Lost Barrel will be where we finish. We're excited this year at Lost Barrel because for anyone who's not been out there, it's a beautiful venue. They have some buildings outside, that you can kind of congregate in. We'll actually have access to those. They've been very amenable to letting us kind of set up shop. But this will be great because we'll have literally
Like our own spot.
Like our own
like
place.
our own
Yeah.
spot,
Our own bar,
bathroom,
right?
bar,
yeah,
everything.
fire pits and things like that. Which I hope we don't need fire pits. And
Well, yeah,
May,
fingers
but-
crossed. Like
yeah.
we've had good weather.
Yes,
the
we've
last-
had great weather.
the last 2 years.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll take the need for a fire pit because it's cold, not because it's raining.
Yeah.
Touche.
So
Yeah.
I'll take that.
That's a good point.
So I heard something that you said that caught my ear. It's only once a year,
Right.
right? And it again, being a participant, I could vouch, like it's so much fun. Like if you're out there, you're listening, you have a motorcycle, Triumph Classic, whatever, another brand, find your local DGR. It's not only a good cause, but it's just fun. And you meet a lot of great people in the motorcycling community. Like again, the 3 of us wouldn't be riding buddies if not for DGR.
Correct.
And
100%.
if not for Mod being the sponsor, right? As
100%.
the connective tissue. But with that, you said it's only once a year, and it is a bit sad that it is only once a year because it's so much fun.
Mhm.
It's almost like a picnic. Like, hey,
Right.
we're all getting together for a big ride. Like our family members come out and meet us at the
Right.
destination. Like, it's
Exactly.
just great. It's just
Yep.
wholesome. I heard that you guys are doing something about that personally, so maybe we could finish up with that and
We are.
Yeah, we
inspire
are.
people. And I'll have you back. You can tell me more about it, but just a little
Yeah.
teaser
Sure.
today. What's going
Yeah,
on
we'd love to
outside of DGR?
leave a little
Yeah. So
breadcrumbs here.
JJ and I started a small company called Locomoto.
See the
Loco
hats.
stands for Loudoun County, right? Little play on words. That's something that JJ came up with. And yeah, I mean, we would look at each other at the end of the DGR ride and say, man, we have to wait a whole year. And after several beers and discussions, we said, hey, why don't we do something local, right? Why don't we organize events, host events locally, and give back to local charities? And that was kind of the genesis of Locomoto. And I'll let JJ take it from here.
No, it truly is. How do we just kind of take DGR and Movember as a model, and how do we do this? And it's much about giving back to our local communities as it is about just getting together again, right? Like,
Right.
we try to ride as much as we can,
Yeah, every chance we can get.
every chance we can get. But so it's funny. I joked about we may have picked the worst time to start a motorcycle inspired company, but we've had a lot of people say, no, it's not, because we can really lay the solid foundation because we're not out riding bikes, right? We're not out
we started
riding.
this past September.
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
So we're still,
right as the season is kind of ending, the
Still pretty
motorcycle
young.
riding
I'm
season.
like, why would it be a bad time?
Yeah,
It's a
I
good
mean,
time.
yeah, because
Mr. Heated Gear over here. Right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
ride.
What do you mean, the end of the season?
Yeah, no excuse to be cold and just get some heated gear.
There is
and
no-
especially here in Northern Virginia, you should be able to ride.
There is no end of
10
the
out of
season
12
for
months.
this guy.
No.
Right.
God bless you.
So yes, we decided, we're
Exactly.
going to build a website. We're going to sell merchandise, and proceeds from those sales will go to local charities. We've partnered with a handful of charities here in Loudoun County, as well as local businesses. So we've had 3 kind of Sunday morning coffee events, if you will, at a great place in in Ashburn called Blend Coffee Bar.
Yeah.
We call that Rides and Roasts. We purposely did that because we didn't want to just have motorcycles. I mentioned we have a friend that has a beautiful Volvo classic car. In fact, we didn't mention DGR has kind of a sister event, if you will, called the DGD, which is the Distinguished Gentleman's Drive. That's only been going on for 2 years here in Leesburg.
Classic cars.
Classic cars, same premise, Movember.
Dressed up. Yep.
Yep. Just
That's
4
pretty
wheels
cool.
versus 2. And funny enough, the 2 years that Lauren, our friend that helps support us in DGR, is the host of the DGD here. So we've kind of swapped.
So you kind of bridged.
Yes.
You guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A little
we switched
cross pollinations. Yeah.
And JJ and I escort the cars
Yeah,
on
that's
our
great. I
motorcycles.
love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
So-
put our tweed back on.
All right,
and
so now we have
hop
2
on the
things a
bikes.
year, but for
Right.
local moto, so you're really trying to, hey, not every weekend, of course, but just try to
Yeah,
At least a
build
monthly
that,
event,
like be
right?
the center of some motorcycling
Yeah.
community, and then
Absolutely.
and do good at the same time, right?
So starting in March of 25, we're going to kick back up Rides and Roasts at Blend. It's the first Sunday of every month from 9 to 11. We will again partner with local charities that'll be out with us. They're bringing up awareness and their
Yeah, sure.
cause.
And just- yep.
The beautiful thing is Blend in that 3-hour window is donating 10% of all sales. We had one kind of one-off event the end of last year called Pints and Pistons,
I
which
remember
is
that,
at a
actually.
local
Yeah.
brewery. That one we envision kind of rotating those because there's just such beautiful venues. And honestly, a lot of folks we've had a lot of people come and say, I want to get involved, or I'd like to host one of those here at our spot. So that's been nice. But in the last few weeks, Locomoto has kind of evolved a little bit to, back to kind of men's mental health, right? Again, this really kind of stemmed from what we've learned and what we've experienced, if you will, with Movember. And there was a friend of ours who also rides in DGR with us. Reda and I had coffee the other day with this gentleman, and he brought up motorcycling as therapy in disguise.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it
I think
really,
we all say it.
it
all
really-
the time, right? This is
Yeah.
my therapy.
it really resonated, and it's almost, I don't want to say a relaunch of Locomoto, but I think we were really going to double down on the importance of mental health for men,
Yeah.
right? It's something that, we're too, the macho in us, we don't want to talk about it. And we want to help those find their therapy in disguise, whether it's motorcycling,
Right.
whether it's, playing
Gardening.
golf, throwing
Yeah.
a hook in the water. I've got some friends that have not ridden, and they see what we're doing. They see the fun that we're having, the relationships we're building. And these are guys pushing 50, right? That
Yeah.
want to start riding.
Yeah, I can't, like I've had $1 for every time somebody said this is my therapy in our comms, right? And how much
Oh, yeah.
riding,
Oh,
right? Like, or I
absolutely.
could
I
be
mean,
doing this every day, or
There are a lot of people out there who we're very fortunate. We have this outlet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people out there who are struggling, with mental health, but don't have an outlet.
that's right.
And we're not saying it's just motorcycles, right? It could be anything.
Anything, right? to
Just
get
go
out.
do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we want to project and what we want to really focus on in 2025 is mental health and really talking about it because, it's not just men and women. I mean, everybody suffers from some type of mental health,
Yeah.
but I think men just keep it in and don't know how to deal with it. So we want to, bring some visibility.
And it
to
manifests itself in weird things, like you have more than one motorcycle, maybe 2.
Yeah,
or
I
3,
mean,
or,
now I have double
or
the
5
therapy,
jackets, or
right? 2
Yeah.
motorcycles. I need triple the therapy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
well,
there's-
maybe, I was gonna say
That's
maybe we leave it there, and
Yeah.
I'm happy to have you guys back.
That'd be
and
great.
We'll talk more about Locomoto, probably closer to your event. I know we were talking about doing an event with Ridgeback Rides as well. Maybe we can do
Mhm.
something around with everybody bring their dog or something, but it'd be fun. So
Yes.
I think this is great. For those listening, hopefully you learned a little bit more about not only DGR, but our chapter here in Leesburg. If you're in the local area, definitely look us up, get on the website, There should be some information out there now. Register. We'd love to have you. Love to get to know you. Love to have you part of our community. So thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate you spending some
Thanks
time.
for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Nick.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.